going on, everybody? What's happening? How you doing? How's your Thursday? What's going on? What's going on? I was being lazy, sitting back and relaxing. You know what I need in here? I need a lazy boy. I need a lazy boy chair in here. That's what I need. A lazy boy chair. Hey, let's talk Halloween. Bring your theories. Tell me what you want to see with Halloween Ends. This is your opportunity to let everybody out there know what it is you want to see from Halloween Ends. Let's do that one more time. It is, what is it today? It is Thursday, March the 31st, 2022, 7:02 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the last day of March. April Fool's Day is tomorrow. I just thought I would come on and do a Halloween Q&A talking, but I want you guys to bring me your theories. I want you to tell me your theories. I want you to tell me what it is that you think they are doing with Halloween Ends. What do we know about it? What are they doing? What is going on? What do you think? How is it going to end? Who do you think will survive? How do you think it is going to open? What's the first shot? Do you think do you think Michael will die? Do you think Michael will live? Do you think Jamie will die? Do you think Laurie will die? Laurie will live? What is it? What is it? What is it? Tell me now. This is your opportunity to tell me now. Fuck it, let's do it one more time. Here we go, another one. Yes, another one. We're going again. Yes, we're going again. There it is. Yes, tell me. This is it. This is your opportunity to tell me your theories, your views. What do you think? What do you want to see? Will Michael Myers live? Will Michael Myers die? Will Laurie Strode live? Will Laurie Strode die? What is going to happen? Will Allison live? Will Allison die? Will Michael be the last shape standing? What do we know? What do we don't know? How is it going to open? How is it going to end? Will there be more? This is your opportunity. Tell me now. What do you want to see? What don't you want to see? I don't know. I know, that's the point. There's hardly any information out there. But what do you want to see? Your theories. Tell me. Get into the chat room. Let's start the conversation. Let's get the ball rolling. Let's do this right now. What do you think is going to happen with Halloween Ends? What do you think is going to happen with Halloween Ends? What do you think is going to happen with Halloween Ends? We did that three times. What do you guys think? It's your opportunity. It's a Halloween Q&A, Halloween Ends Q&A. So whatever questions you have, feel free to get them in. But also it is bring your theories. I want to know, do you have any interesting I was going to say insights, but do you have any interesting insights? Do you have any interesting theories? Any interesting theories you want to toss my way? Let's do this. Let's get it going. Hicks Film says, Dave, the way you're talking about this makes me think that Halloween Ends is coming out tomorrow. Well, that's because I know how to hype shit up. Richie Wark says, no, to be honest with you, I think it's going to be like an H2O kind of ending in my opinion. Well, maybe you may be right. Dark Light sends in $5 super chat. Thank you, Dark Light. And says, Halloween Ends isn't going to streaming. No, I don't believe it is. Of course, you never know what the world's going to be like in 6 months. Do you think H Kills would have performed slightly better if it didn't go to Peacock? Maybe an extra 5 million or so? Maybe, but what did Kills do? What, 130 something, 140, something like that? I don't think it would have done much better. I think, I've said this before and I will say it again. Please, if you don't know this or you don't realize this, please understand that Halloween 18 overperformed. That's not the norm. That's not, slashers don't make $250 million at the box office. You know, it overperformed. Now, there's reasons why it overperformed, and I'm not saying it was a terrible movie, and I'm not saying it didn't earn, you know, some of that money, and if you really enjoyed it and you think it was the best Halloween movie ever, then to you, it did earn it, and I get all that, but it's more academic, I think, in some ways, right? Like there are very clear reasons why it made the money that it did. I don't think if Kills did not go to Peacock, that Kills suddenly would have been like over 200 million as well. No, even in a perfect world, even if there was no pandemic, I don't think Kills is making 250. It's just, I think there's it's what I find frustrating about, I mean, it's great for movies, it's great for horror, it's great for slashers, it's great for Halloween, but it creates this false sense of expectation, like, oh wow, it made that like that's the norm, or that's just what they do now. That's just where we are now with slasher movies, and it's like no, it was way overperformed, and so, you know, it gives some people the illusion that this is just how it is. And it's not how it is. And so no, I don't think if there was no pandemic and there was no Peacock, Kills would still not have made $250 million at the box office. It wouldn't even come close to $200 million at the box office. But, you know, making what it did, 130, you know, 140, 120 or whatever it did, I think it probably would have nestled in and around the same. And I think Halloween Ends is going to be around the same. Halloween Ends ain't touching 250. I'll tell you that. Of course, you never know. All right. Where are your theories, ladies and gentlemen? Come on. There's 155 of you watching. Come on now. I know you've got theories. I know you've got Halloween Ends theories. What is it? Michael K says, I feel like the delays hurt Halloween Kills, even though it was no one's fault. Hurt Halloween Kills? I don't think so. But I don't know what you mean because of the box office? No. You have to understand that, and again, this is generally speaking, okay? It's not that you can't point to examples that are the opposite of what I'm saying. But generally speaking, sequels do not make as much as the first installments. And especially when it comes to the slasher subgenre, sequels generally don't make, you know, more than the first, you know, whatever it is, right? Now they can, there are examples of, you know, it can. But usually as sequels go on, they don't make as much. And because Halloween 18 overperformed by a long shot, you know, do not get it into your head that Kills, for some reason, should have been a $200 million film. No. There's never been a slasher movie that's broken $200 million in the history of motion pictures. At least I don't think so. Certainly not 250, right? And there's reasons for that. There's reasons why Candyman didn't come to that, right? There's reasons why, you know, what other slasher... Scream didn't come anywhere near that. Scream! One of the most popular, beloved slasher franchises in the history of motion pictures, didn't even come close to $250 million at the box office, right? So that's what I mean. Like, we have to understand here that it's not really a good litmus test. It way overperformed. So I think Kills made about what it was appropriate, it was fine. You know, Kills and Scream are like close. You know, as far as I know, right? Let me just double check here. Let me go to Halloween Kills box office mojo. Let's get this baby in here. So Halloween Kills made $131 million worldwide. All right. Scream. What did Scream do? Scream made $140 million worldwide. So that's, I mean, you know, yeah, that's, you know, That's really good for slasher movies, especially when your budget is like, I don't know. What was the budget of Scream here? 10 million maybe? I don't know. Can't be that much. It's not saying here. Why is it not saying? Should tell me, shouldn't it? Domestic opening. Anyway, whatever it is, right? Yeah. Halloween Kills, I think, was 20 million? Something like that. Like, it's really good. They were both very, very profitable. So I think Halloween Ends will be in and around the same. 100 million, 120 million, 30 million, somewhere in there. I'd say between 100 and 150 million is what you could probably expect for Halloween Ends. It'll be a long time, I think, before we see a slasher movie cross $250 million. A slasher movie cross 250, not a horror movie, a slasher movie cross $250 million at the worldwide box office. Robert Kitzmiller sends in $10, says, my question to you. All right. It seems to be a popular thing, either bringing a legacy character back or a surprise character. That's true. If Halloween Ends does either, who would you want to see show up? Well, it would have to make sense in accordance to, I don't want to see any character. This is just me. I don't want to see any character that was brought into the fold starting with Halloween 2 onwards, because they're not the same version of themselves. So this would have to be somebody that was either still alive at the end of Halloween 1 from 1978 or spoken about in Halloween but never saw, right? The original from 1978. So, I'd be okay if we saw like Ben Tramer, right? Because although we did see him get killed in Halloween 2, Halloween 2 doesn't exist. So I would be okay with seeing Ben Tramer because it would still be the same Ben Tramer from that first movie. Who else? Well, they brought back Marion Chambers, but she went out with a whimper. Everybody went out with a whimper. It's so sad because, you want to say like Tommy Doyle and Lindsay, and she's still alive, but, and Lonnie, but they really did these characters. Just didn't. They all went out with, they were just, I don't know why they were there. Well, I know why they were there, but I don't know why they were there. So Ben Tramer would be cool as a legacy character. I mean, he's really not a legacy character, really. He's more just a legacy name, I guess, in the Halloween community. Oh yeah, Ben Tramer, yeah, look, oh yeah, So yeah, I mean, him, maybe. I mean, he could feasibly still be alive, right? He'd be in his 60s or 70s or, what have you. So that might be kind of fun. A surprise character. Well, a surprise character. I mean, it's kind of hard when you're going back to the original. And again, I don't want to, there are a lot of people out there that would be okay with bringing Jamie Lloyd into it and Rachel Carruthers into it. And I don't know. Not me. I think just, John Tate and, but it's a different John Tate. I don't want to touch with it. It's messy. It's weird. It's lame. I don't need it. The only movie that is canon is 1978. So that's the only thing you have to draw from. So if that's the only thing we have to draw from, then yes, for me, I would legacy character, quote unquote. Again, I put it in quotes because, we don't really like character. Ben Tramer, and a surprise character. Some people have said, what about Myers' parents? Myers' parents would be 100. Okay, sure. Maybe they're... Here's something that would be interesting. Here's something that I would love to see. I wanted to see it in Halloween 18. Didn't see it. It didn't really... It would have felt out of place in Kills because, it's the same night and it would have felt kind of weird to do it in Kills. But you certainly could do it in Halloween Ends. And that is Laurie visiting the grave of her best friends. Linda, Bob, and Annie. Yes. Yeah. It doesn't have to be this whole, but seeing, they're dead, but seeing the gravestone saying, Annie and Linda. Yes. 100%. Imagine that, seeing a gravestone. Annie Brackett, it's like, oh yeah. So yeah, that would be for me what I'd like to see. Chris Parrish sends in $9.99. Thank you, Chris. Says starts on H18 with I get what you're doing. Starts on H18 with a recap of the end of Kills and jumps to present times. I kind of like ends to be like that unmade Halloween Returns movie. A battle at Smith's Grove. Allison and Lindsay survive. Yeah, you never know. Could be something like that. I read bits and pieces of that Halloween Returns script years ago, and I don't remember a lot of it. I do remember that Michael was on death row, but that was kind of, the sort of a thing that was easy to remember about that. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I just want to see, I want this to be, David Gordon Green has already said this, that it's a much smaller film in scale. And for me, I made a post to Twitter the other day, or maybe a week or two ago now. And I said, I'm paraphrasing what I said, but I said, Halloween Ends, and I truly believe this, Halloween Ends doesn't need to be all things great. So what do I mean by that, right? Well, I mean that you don't have, in my opinion, I don't have to walk out of the theater being blown away. Wow. Come on. I just needed to respect the legacy of 1978. And I'm not saying that they haven't done that. They've done that in certain parts and dropped the ball in others, with the last two films. But stick the landing. It doesn't have to be an ending that I totally like. It doesn't have to be an ending that I am head over heels for. It doesn't have to be a movie that is everything that I wanted it to be. It doesn't have to be that. It just has to be competent, where for me, I can walk out of the theater going, okay. All right. Solid. Well done. You didn't embarrass us, right? You didn't embarrass yourself. You didn't embarrass the Halloween fans. You didn't embarrass Michael Myers. And that's why I said in that tweet too, I said no gimmicky cliffhangers, right? Don't end it on a cheesy, like I've always said, his eyes suddenly opening, or, suddenly he sits up and it cuts to black and dun, 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 dun. Don't do that. It's cheese. It's smelly, moldy cheese, first of all. And it's weak. I'm not saying that the movie can't have a cliffhanger-ish of an ending where there's stuff for the audience to ponder and think about, like, I like that kind of stuff. But don't do like a, Nightmare on Elm Street 2 and riding the bus and the arm comes out of, it's great for 80s cheese stuff. And listen, if they had more to tell, look, if Halloween Ends is a gigantic box office success, I'm sure they'll want to make more. But end it, stick the landing. Do something really cool where fans can go, all right, you know what? That was actually pretty good. I enjoyed that. That was good. I'm okay. Like, I feel respected. That's all you got to do. Now, I'm not saying that you don't strive to make the best movie in the history of slasher films. Of course you do. But because Halloween Kills was such a divisive movie, you don't need this to be, if it is, that's great. But you just stick that landing. Just make a story that is competent, that respects the 78 film and sticks the landing, whatever that means. And I want to see more stalking. I want to see stalking, not 30 seconds of stalking. I want to see a stalking scene, like let Carpenter and his son and his godson run wild, and just like this, that fucking The Shape stalks from 18, that's a fucking great. The scene wasn't long enough. She ran around the corner, down the street, and that was it. It was like, that should have been drawn out with her like hiding in the backyards of neighbors' houses behind, garbage bins and shit. And she's looking around and you see him, then you don't see him. Then she takes off and she trips and falls and skins her knee. And then she gets back up. And that whole thing, you could have had a fucking 3-minute scene there. I want to see that shit. That's what I want to see. Stalking, lurking in the shadows. This is it. This is it. Let's go out. This is it. Let's do it. Stalking, lurking, shadows. That's what I want to see. Dylan. What's the matter? CIA got you pressing too many pencils? It's a terrible Arnold impression. There you go. That's better. Come on, dudes, come on. Whenever anybody does an Arnold, I would love to be able to. There are impressionists out there, like real impressionists, who can do a terrific Arnold impression. And I don't mean like, I mean, that's what everybody does, right? Because it's so easy to do. But I mean like actually talk like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Whereas if you picked up the phone and you were talking on the phone, you'd think it was Arnold. It's amazing. And I can't do that. But I can do what everybody does, which is, come on, It's great. It's great. And you know who I'm doing, which is amazing. Dylan says, my theory is the quarantine COVID will only come into play for Michael's return, helping him kill while remaining unseen. Yeah, well, again, this is a good segue into sort of saying this. So I've talked about the theory and the speculation that COVID will have a role in Halloween Ends. And, I don't pretend to know what that is, the extent of what that role is. I just know that there, I think it was Jamie Lee Curtis said something to the effect of that, and I'm pretty sure I've been clear on this. We've speculated of on both sides of the extremes, of course. But that Halloween Ends takes place in a, for all intents and purposes, a post-COVID world, or maybe in the middle of a COVID world or something to that degree. But I don't necessarily believe that it is a COVID movie. Like you're going to see everybody running around in masks and, they're going to have to wear masks and they're going to be chasing Michael in masks and, people are going to be dying of COVID left, right. No, it's not Contagion. I think that's the Steven Soderbergh movie, right? I think it was him that did that movie. It's not that, okay? It's not a virus film. But I do think that it's possible that, depending on what the story is and how they've structured the narrative, that they are utilizing the how everybody feels now, the anxiousness, the anxiety of the post sort of COVID kind of thing, to kind of play into that with Michael and Halloween, all that kind of stuff. So I don't think it's at least I hope it's not a running narrative and a subplot for the movie. I think that's unnecessary. It's still got to be a Halloween slasher movie. And I felt that way about Ends. I think the whole hospital subplot is unnecessary. It's not in these movies. And like I've said many times, it's, horror has always had, subtext and, social commentary and all that kind of stuff. But it just, whatever they're doing or whatever they did in Ends, it just didn't work. It just didn't work. It felt shoehorned in, contrived, synthetically created. Just leave it alone. Don't worry about it. Just tell the story of Michael Myers. That's it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. So I hope that they don't worry about it for Halloween Ends. But you might be right. Who knows? All right. Let's see. A couple more super chats came in here. Do want to make sure I get them. Dark Light, $2 says smaller scale means no hospital with 100 extras. Yes, that's part of it. Smaller scale usually would imply narratively as well. So, and yes, in terms of the logistics of the story and the production, smaller scale implies really logistics narrative, right? So that could be locations, that could be just the scale of the shoot, the complexity of the shoot, and the story that they're telling. It's really, it can be all of the above, or it can be a number of those things. Usually if it's one of those things, all of it is included. If you don't have many locations, usually the narrative is not that complex, right? But that doesn't mean that you can't have a lot of fun within and around the locations that you are shooting. I don't know how many locations they have. I'm not privy to the shooting schedule. I haven't seen what the shooting schedule looks like, so I don't know. But yes, I got the impression that when David Gordon Green said that, he's talking about sort of bringing the pace down as well, right? So Halloween Kills had a very kind of pace because it is, I mean, it's the same night, you know, we jump right in and shit has already hit the fan and we're continuing to watch shit hit the fan. So for a slasher movie, for a Halloween movie, there's quite the pace in that film. And like you said, there's a lot of extras in the hospital and then, you know, all the places he's killing at the firefighters and, you know, the couple with the drone and then of course the couple at the Myers house and then, you know, the ending and the street and the mob and all this. It was a bit logistically, it was bigger. The pace was, you know, with this movie, I get the impression that what they're doing is they're going, slow it down. They're slowing it down, slowing down that pace. They're jumping 4 years so they can do that. So now we're being introduced to these characters 4 years later, right? So, you know, where they were in 2018 is not necessarily where they're going to be in 2022. Allison has lost both her parents now, but I don't think we're going to be introduced to the same Allison. I mean, that could be 4 years 4 years is a long time. 4 years is a long time. There could be a lot of therapy in that 4 years, a lot of, you know, counseling that they went through with Laurie as well. Obviously the set photos of Jamie Lee Curtis on set. One of the first things that I noticed, one of the first things that you guys notice as well, in terms of her wardrobe, is that she looks, you know, cleaner, right? Her hair looks, you know, the wig they had on her, obviously, because it's not her real hair, but it's not the gray, mangy sort of, well, no, it's 4 years later. It almost looks like it's kind of blonde and not gray, right? A very sort of light blonde, like she's kind of, you know, because it's been 4 years. Maybe she's kind of on the mend. She's on the up and up. We're going to be introduced to these characters 4 years later. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not struggling with things and that they're, obviously, we're going to see the residual effects of what happened that night. But I think the relationships are going to be stronger. And I think the connections between Lindsay and Laurie and Allison and Laurie, I think is going to be very apparent there. We're going to see that, you know, because the 4 year gap that we haven't seen is where all that was taking place. And then we're introduced to them already there. So that's interesting. So, you know, there's a lot there that is really kind of, it becomes more about character. Not that there isn't going to be action or kills or blood or chases, of course, but it really, they've slowed the pace down and made it more of a smaller sort of picture is what I take away from that, like the original Halloween. But we shall see. Darth Vader Jones sends in $5, says, I want to see Laurie running across a girl that looks like Judith and uses her to trick Michael to show up and both Laurie and Michael die. Kind of sounds like my sequel concept idea video. Of course, you made it sound very sort of plain sounding. Yeah, but I'd be okay with that. Jake Blair sends in $9.99, says, interested to see how they bridge the gap between Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends. How they explain the aftermath of Halloween Kills and what happened to Michael could be interesting or go south quick. Fingers crossed, no lazy writing. I agree. Obviously, this is one of the big questions on everybody's mind, which is what happened to Michael Myers? Where has he been for 4 years? That's the big question. We know that the working title for this movie is Cave Dwellers. I believe it's plural. I believe it's Dwellers. You know, I speculated, of course, a couple of months ago that maybe he's been hiding out in a cave for the last 4 years. I don't know. It's interesting because when Michael Myers is literally, again, there's several ways that you can play this. You can do the H2O thing. They never found his body. And, that's just the explanation. I don't know. And then he just comes back and there's no, he's in the jumpsuit. He's got the mask. I don't know how he was shitting or peeing or, you know, eating. I don't know. He looks great. He's in great health. He looks totally fine. Like he's been hanging out at the Hilton for 4 years. I mean, you know, Yeah, I guess you could play it that way. Or you could play it where when Halloween Ends begins, we actually find out that he was caught again. He was apprehended, he was caught, and he was put into Smith's Grove. And maybe they do take a little bit of a page out of Halloween Returns, and they are putting him on death row. Or there's a debate. Maybe we're in the middle of a trial, and maybe they're trying to figure that out. Right? That maybe, yes, is he going to get the death penalty? Is he not going to get the death penalty? And we're going to be introduced to that. And of course, Laurie and Allison and Lindsay are all advocating for the death penalty, and maybe some people aren't. Maybe there's maybe there's a relative we're introduced to. Michael's great aunt who's 102, and she doesn't want her little baby who's now 70 or 64 or 5, whatever, to be put to death. I don't know. I'm just speculating, obviously, but you're right. I mean, there's a few different ways that we can bridge that gap, and where Michael's been is one of the big questions. How are they going to handle it? Or, like I said, he just walked off into the ether and nobody knows where he's been for 4 years, and he just shows up. The problem I have with that, and that was an issue I had with Halloween H2O as well. It made no sense, especially since Halloween 2 is canon. Halloween 2 is canon. He was burnt. Darren Sands from The Slaughtered Lamb always says this, and he's absolutely right. And shout out to Dick Warlock, I think he's in his 80s now. I mean, he did, as far as I know, he did that fire walk at the end of Halloween 2, 1981. That, to this day, and I agree with Darren, has got to be one of the greatest, if not the greatest, fire walk in the history of movies. Dick Warlock is engulfed. Now listen, yes, you can see the fire suit on. Okay, Michael's looking a little bit like the Michelin Man, all right, as he walks down. It's like, it looks like he's put on a few pounds. He was having a couple of cakes and donuts back in the room with Dr. Loomis. I mean, yes, you do. Okay. But you can suspend your disbelief because you go, well, maybe it's the fire. Maybe there's something, the fire's got into the suit and it's making the suit look all, you can justify it in your own mind. But he is engulfed. I mean, the heat that Dick Warlock must have been feeling is just crazy to me. Absolutely crazy. You're telling me that guy got up and walked away? I never found his body. I don't know. I don't know. Okay, well, I guess he's literally supernatural. This is kind of like, the transition now. And he was shot in the eye, so he was blind. Okay. And then when he shows up in Halloween H2O, he's got not only is he perfectly fine, his skin is perfectly fine. He can see, and there's many times in Halloween H2O where we see his eyes like this. He's perfectly fine. And his skin is perfectly fine, not burned at all. Oh, okay. And Halloween 2 is canon. It's like, okay, all right. I don't want to see that. With Halloween 18, and I know there are people say, well, listen, they've jumped the shark now. David Gordon Green and Danny McBride wanted him to be supernatural, or not supernatural, but look at the shots he took at the end of Halloween 2, and there's point blank, and he just gets up. Listen, I agree. The more they shoot Michael, the more that becomes a little, it's kind of hard. I get it. I totally get it. So that's why it's difficult. What Michael are we getting here? I don't want to see him apprehended again. But for the purposes of believability, it's almost like you have to do that if you want it totally believable. And you really want to, keep in line with the more human, again, I'm not saying there isn't that supernatural element there. Michael was human in the original film as well, but there was that supernatural vibe. It's like, how did he take that? Ooh, what's going on here? If you want to keep in line with that, I don't know if him vanishing for 4 years into the ether only to show up perfectly fine. Like, did he perform surgery on himself? I mean, I never found his body. Well, I guess he was just hanging out. I don't know. It's a question I've been thinking about. And of course, as more of the marketing material starts to unfold and things like that, those are conversations we're going to be having here on the channel. I have ideas. I have theories too. But there's only so many ways you can go. I mean, really, at the end of the day, right? There's only so many ways that you can go. He's either going to be caught, he's either going to walk off into the ether, never to be seen, or they know where he is, he's not caught, and maybe he's been committing other murders in other towns. Like he's just gone, he's left Haddonfield because the heat was on. So he's gone over to Russellville, or he's gone over to, I don't know. And he's just a serial killer on the loose that they haven't been able to find. That's interesting. That's interesting, right? That's interesting to me. I don't think that really makes the movie smaller, though. That kind of feels like you're making the movie and the world bigger. It's a lot of locations suddenly. But that's interesting. I actually might like that better than getting captured again. But anyway, where are we here? Got that. Bud Gumberson sends in $10. Thank you, Bud. Says, I think it's unfair how the past two have been about Laurie's trauma and should be about Michael's trauma after being forced to do these films for so long. Grandma Laurie can't harass him forever. Yeah. Well, one of the things that I really appreciated, again, I didn't like Kills really at all. I like the flashback. I like the opening. There's things in Halloween Kills that I really do appreciate. A few little things that I think they did better than what they did in 18. But as I've always said, although I'm not crazy on 18 either, I do think 18 is a better movie than Kills. It's the pacing is better. The writing is better. The structure is better. It's just overall, it's a better film. Halloween Kills is very strange. It's a strange film with a lot of over-the-top performances. But that being said, one of the things that I do like in Kills is the moment that Laurie, they make it definitive that it's not about you. Hawkins says it's not about you. It's not about you. Laurie for years has always thought, and that's a great thing. And I've talked about this on the show before, but let me specify, that is a great thing, a great character thing narratively. It doesn't matter what movie you're throwing that into. It's a great moment because Laurie's identity has been nothing but Michael Myers. She gave up her fucking life. She had failed relationships with the people she was involved with her own family, right? She's the crazy cat lady that lives down the street. Do you know what I mean? It is her whole identity. She gave up her life because she thought it was about her. Imagine if finding out that you wasted 40 years of your life, it was never about you. He doesn't give a shit about you. He does not care. Imagine that. Imagine that. It's her whole identity. It's her whole identity. And people feel that way too. It's like an athlete who's so used to being active and running and in shape and ripped and chiseled and performing, doing stuff. Suddenly they break their neck and they're paralyzed, or they, get sick, or, whatever the case is, right? You don't feel like yourself. You lose who you are. You lose your identity because who you are is that, I'm sure Laurie would have rather have been something else in her life than the crazy Michael Myers chick, but that's who she was. And she was so convinced that he was coming after her. She was so convinced that he was just waiting, and ready that it wasn't about her. So what does that mean for her moving forward? Where is she now? How humbled is she? How embarrassed is she? How does that change her personality? How does that change her approach and her thought process to Michael, to relationships, to the town, to people she's hurt in her life, to people because there's no doubt in my mind that if this was a real situation, Laurie would have been a bitch to a lot of people. A lot of people. She would have lost a lot of friends. She would have lost a lot of relationships. She would have lost a lot of jobs. She probably couldn't hold a job if her life depended on it. Do you know what I mean? Because she's too neurotic. She's too crazy. She's crazy because she's built this whole identity that doesn't exist. Maybe one extra movie is not really long enough to explore all that. This is a slasher movie after all. It's not a drama. But as a filmmaker, that's something that interests me. That's fascinating. You know, how does that go? You know, so that's another interesting thing that hopefully we'll be able to see where she is at now, 4 years later. Fascinating stuff. Let's see here. Solid Saturn says, same. I want a shape stock scene with the shape stocks theme. Ooh, I want a shape stock scene with a shape stocks theme. You and me both, baby. You and me both. All right. A couple more super chats came in. You guys are, quite a few more came in. You guys are amazing. Thank you. I want to make sure I get them. I don't want to miss them. Okay, here we are. Let's see. Caleb Weaver. I think that's how I say that. Sends in $4.99. Thank you, buddy. Says, hey, Dave, my dad, Paul, wants to know, what do you think is Jamie Lee's best performance in the Halloween franchise? Best performance in the Halloween franchise? Well, I mean, I would probably say that it depends, right? It depends what Laurie we're asking for. Just purely from an acting perspective, I think she was terrific in Halloween 18. I think it was actually probably the film's strongest part was Jamie Lee Curtis's ability to dial in that type of character. Now, again, it's not like it's Academy Award worthy. It's not that level of stuff. It's appropriate to the genre. It's appropriate to the story. It's appropriate to the type of movie it is. I mean, it is a slasher movie after all, right? We're not delivering a Shawshank Redemption performance here, but Jamie Lee Curtis is a talented, experienced actress. So she went there with that character, a broken woman, a broken, traumatized woman. And I thought she did a great job relative to the intensity and complexity of the story. She could have gone deeper if it was like a real deep drama or something like that. Sure. But so I'd probably say 18, if you want to go like real, performance kind of thing. That's a good question. I've never got that one before. HT, also known as Demonic. Oh, no. Dominic St. Clair. I'm just kidding, buddy. Says, I know, I couldn't believe I said that the other day. It says, after Ends, they need to make Season of the Witch and have Season of the Witch set in Haddonfield, continuing Haddonfield's nightmares. Oh, man. I agree with you about Season of the Witch, and I'm not the biggest Season of the Witch guy. I don't mind the movie. Like, I think it's all right. It's watchable, certainly. It's not one that I watch on the regular. I don't think it's as good as everybody thinks it is. But I don't think it's a bad movie either. I think the concept and the premise is better than the movie. So that's why there are people that love that movie, that don't want it touched, but if they do, they want a sequel. I'm okay with a sequel, but I also think that for me, I'm okay with just remaking it because I think you could make a better remake of that movie today with all the technology and like really craft the story and it'd be really cool. And I also think it would make an interesting series as I've often said. I don't know how long, like maybe just a mini series like, Midnight Mass or something like that maybe. Like 7 or 8 episodes, 6 to 8 episodes or something where it's just like this mini series. That would be kind of cool. I don't think Season of the Witch is something that you could just go on and on and on and on and on. But definitely like a mini series or a movie, either a sequel or a reboot, I'm okay with. I think it'd be kind of cool. But set in Haddonfield? Oh, man. If that shit started happening in Haddonfield, the entire town would have to move out. Darth Vader Jones, $2 says, sorry, Dave, I forgot to say it's from your concept. Oh, okay. Yeah. That's right. No worries. I just was like, that sounds really familiar. Dark Light sends in $5, says, did you see Roland Emmerich's new film Moonfall? I have not, but it looks bonkers. Halle Berry, Patrick Wilson, Donald Sutherland, $150 million budget, made $40 million worldwide. What went wrong? Well, I haven't seen the movie, so maybe that's what went wrong was the movie. But Roland Emmerich, look, these types of movies are, generally speaking, the disaster movies that Roland Emmerich makes and has made. And, generally speaking, movies are like this as well, right? There are patterns, there are trends. And, you know, the movie industry is no different. It's like fashion, right? It's like music. It's like anything. So disaster movies, like the kind that Emmerich makes, right? Whether it's Independence Day, I think that was him. I think he did The Day After Tomorrow as well. You know, he does those kinds of things. Did he do 2012? I'm not sure. But, you know, he does these disaster movies and they're fun. They're nothing but popcorn, fart, don't have to think about it. Just turn my brain off. Special effects. Can you imagine this happening? Holy shit. You know what I mean? It's that kind of stuff. It's like Armageddon. I know he didn't direct Armageddon, but it's like that kind of thing, you know? You just turn your brain off. It's that kind of thing. And he is arguably the king of those types of films, right? But those types of movies are not hot right now. They're not like, they were really hot and trendy when Independence Day came out, and then you had Deep Impact, and then you had Armageddon, right? And then, you know, like a lot of the times, niche-y kind of sticky, like movies that got like a shtick to it or like a kind of a thing about them are trendy, you know, and they follow trends and they'll be there for a while and then they're not there. So I just don't think it's the time. If Moonfall had come out in 1997, this would have been one of the biggest box office successes of the year, right? But it's 2022 and we're not really in the wheelhouse right now of, you know, Independence Day and Day After Tomorrow and, you know, 2012 and Moonfall and all this kind of, it doesn't mean that those movies can't do good, but I just don't think that, you know, I don't know. I just don't think it's not hot right now. You know, it's not hot. But hey, 10 years from now, it could come around again. All of a sudden, disaster movies that are so ridiculous, like that kind of thing, are suddenly trendy again. And you make Moonfall at that time, and all of a sudden it becomes a box office success. You know, so and Moonfall, maybe the movie's not very good. I mean, I also haven't seen the movie, so I don't know. But that is definitely something you have to think about, right? I mean, look at the slasher subgenre resurgence with Scream in the mid to late 90s, right? There was a little window there, right? You had Scream, and I Know What You Did Last Summer, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, Urban Legends, and The Faculty, and, you know, all that stuff, right? Halloween H2O, and then by the early 2000s, nobody was caring anymore. Nobody gave a shit. Right? So it's, you know, and then now all of a sudden we're in the era of nostalgia and bringing things back. But eventually that'll go away, you know? And so, you know, Stranger Things success in 2016 doesn't necessarily mean it would be a success in 2025 or, you know, whatever it is, right? People are already kind of Stranger Things out, you know? So, I mean, it's those are things that you have to keep in mind as well. But the movie could also be terrible. I don't know. Jake Blair sends in $4.99, says, all I know is I don't want to know what Michael's cave smells like, especially given his... That's so good for a dog-based diet. Yes, I don't want to know either. I really don't. You know, if Michael has been shitting in the cave, diarrhea all over the place. Can you imagine? They go into the cave and they walk in there and they're like, oh God. And they look over and Michael's taking a shit in the corner. He's just there. He's got his coveralls off and he's just taking a shit in the corner. And it's like, Michael, Michael, keep the shit in. Keep the shit in. Oh my God. Suddenly becomes this whole other film. Oh, that'd be awful. Riker H sends in $2, says, you missed me and a couple other super chats above. Oh, did I? Oh, great. Thanks, buddy. Thanks for letting me know. Let me go back and have a look. It's always possible. It's always possible. Let me go back and have a look. Okay. Oh, no, I got that one. Let me go back. AK Channel TV. AK Channel TV. Yes, $1.99. Will we see Michael has been hiding like H5? I hope not. I don't want to see Michael's process. Now, I've gotten a lot of backlash for that because people often, they don't really they take it too much at face value. I don't mean Michael killing people. I mean his process. I don't want to see Michael vulnerable, right? We don't need to see Michael vulnerable in a vulnerable position where we're seeing him escape. Nothing is more cringy than seeing the baddest man in Halloween, floating down a river and stumbling like he's just, been on a bender. I don't need to see that. I don't need to see how Michael escapes. He can just, although the firefighter scene in Kills was awesome from a purely visual slasher standpoint, I didn't need to see him escape. He could just have escaped. And they could have been like, how's that possible? What's going on? All that kind of stuff. I don't need to see that, right? Now, the reason why it works is because Michael really, at the end of the day, the reason why I didn't mind it too much at the end of the day is because Michael, in that scene, was always in control. He was not once was he ever vulnerable or looking weak during the firefighter scene. Even though we see his process of how he escapes, they still made him very badass. So that's how you do it if you're going to do it. So no, I hope we don't see it like how we saw it in Halloween 5, because he just looks weak and disheveled and defeated, and I don't want to see that. Okay, there was that one. And then Riker H, yes, $2 says, wasn't Shia LaBeouf to be the new Indiana Jones? No, Shia LaBeouf was never to be the new Indiana Jones. It was just a cute little thing they did at the end of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, where he was about to put on the fedora, but Harrison Ford took it away and was like, no, I don't think so. He was never going to be the new Indiana Jones. Okay, I think I've got that. Let me keep going here. Okay. Good. JM24 sends in $4.99. Says, I hope for Ends they do more of what the original did by making you scared by the music and wondering when he's going to strike instead of a bloodbath. I could not agree more. The only thing that gives me hope that they may return to the more nuanced approach of even their first film, is that, again, David Gordon Green said that this is supposed to be a smaller picture. So, that tells you that they're slowing things down a bit, being a little more, maybe even a little more nuanced with some things. So I hope you're right. I hope you are correct. Unimpressive Media sends in €2. Thank you. Says, will Michael's injured hand be addressed? Well, it was, that's a good question. I mean, he's prone to infection, right? Unless we see him blowtorching it. The scene in Halloween Kills where the drone flies into the bathroom, Michael knocks it away. Not only was that supposed to be, and most of you probably already know this now if you've watched the special features on the Halloween Kills physical media discs, that was Nick Castle's cameo, and it was cut from the movie. Well, that scene, he was in their bathroom because he was at the medicine cabinet, and he was at the medicine cabinet because he was trying to gauze and, put gauze around his hand and, I don't know, peroxide and polysporin cream or something. I don't know. He was trying to fix himself. So they cut that from the movie, and you never really saw how he got the bandage on his hand. So I don't know if it'll be addressed. I don't necessarily think it needs to be addressed. I think you can just see that it was healed. It's like, oh, I guess it just healed over and he got lucky. I don't think it's necessary. It's not that kind of a movie. John Robertson sends in a very generous super chat of $20. Thank you, John. Says, hey, Dave, I love your channel and your content. Well, thank you very much. I loved you and Tony's 1950s Halloween concept. Yeah, that was a lot of fun to talk about. I feel like a slasher set in the 50s is well overdue. I wish that Ends will take place at Smith's Grove. I know it won't happen. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, there's going to be a hospital, maybe even a psychiatric unit or ward in Halloween Ends. I don't know if it's going to be Smith's Grove. It doesn't need to be. But yeah, that show that Tony and I did was a lot of fun, and we got great feedback on that. It was a great idea. That was all Tony's idea, and I just spitballed from it. And for those of you that may not know what John is talking about, it's on my channel. It's a few episodes back of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. So just go to the Two Dudes and Some Bullshit playlist and look for Halloween 19. It's a what if episode. It was like a couple weeks ago. Anyway, because obviously Halloween Ends is going to end. And my thought is that I don't want that. I'm the kind of fan that I couldn't care less whether they made another Michael Myers movie ever again. And I don't say that to discredit the fans who want more. I'm not trying to be pompous and say that I'm a better fan than you. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that I'm content. We have all these Halloween movies, all these different iterations of Myers. Some are good, some are bad, some are in between. I'm okay with it. I don't need to see the story told again. I just don't. However, if you are going to tell the story again, Tony had this great idea that why don't you go back? Why don't you make it a film noir thriller, very 1950s like? And Dr. Loomis isn't a psychiatrist, he's a detective. And you could even have him in like a trench coat and a fedora. And you have Judith you have Michael, who isn't 6 years old. Maybe he's like 14 years old, and him and Judith go to high school together. And you can have like Bob and Linda and Annie, but they're playing different. They're all in high school and they're friends with Judith, right? And you do that. You tell the same story, but you tell it in a different way. But you keep the DNA of Halloween there by making it very Hitchcockian, right? That 1950s noir thriller, but you have like the synth score and make it black and white, all right? You shoot it totally black and white, so you really can utilize that deep blacks and high contrast and light and shadow and fog and shit like that. But you tell it, it's on Halloween, and maybe you're building up to Halloween. There's murders in Haddonfield that this detective from Chicago is brought in, Sam Loomis, and he's got to figure out what's going on and who's doing these killings and all that kind of stuff. And then, of course, the climax is on Halloween night when all the kids are out and they don't know if they should cancel Halloween or not because the mayor is kind of like a Larry Vaughn from Jaws, and he's like, no, Halloween, we need it to go ahead. Like all this kind of stuff. Like make it... You're telling Halloween again, but you're not doing it the exact same way. Like, I don't want to see Halloween rebooted even 5 years from now. I don't want to see it rebooted telling the same thing again. A 6-year-old Michael killed his sister. No, I'm done. I'm out. Like they say on, Shark Tank, I'm out. Not because I'm not a fan, but just because I'm okay. Like, we don't need to do this again. We don't. So yes, John. That would be cool, my man. That would be cool. I'd be totally down for it. All right. Let me see here. Want to make sure. JDead00, I think that is. Sends in $9.99. Thanks, buddy. Cave Dwellers is a reference to people of Haddonfield stuck in their houses for quarantine. Radio Tower is broadcasting a local talk show all about Michael and theories about him. The town will be obsessed with it. Ooh, not a bad call. Not a bad call. That's interesting. I kind of like that. Not a bad idea. I could see that. That definitely makes the film smaller. Not a bad idea, my man. Not a bad idea. Adam Miles sends in $10, says, I completely agree with you on the legacy characters. I was hoping to see an emotional attachment between Laurie and the memory of Annie and Linda. It could have added way more weight to the story. I agree. If you're going to bring back legacy characters, you never bring back legacy characters not to be killed. Legacy characters can absolutely be killed. 100%. And if it's done right, it can add real bottom and weight. If it's done right, it can add real bottom and weight to the story. But there was no purpose for them. You can switch out Tommy and Marion and Lindsay and Lonnie for just new people. New, interesting Haddonfield people. There was nothing there. When you bring back legacy characters, you've got to have that moment, where they're seeing each other for the first time, or there's a moment for the audience to revel in the nostalgia of the emotional connection of the reintroduction of these characters. again, it depends. I get it. It's not a hard and fast rule, but that goes a long way. That goes a long way. You know, you got to have that moment. You know, you got to have that Spider-Man moment, that Force Awakens moment. You know, when Han and Leia saw each other. You know, I got choked up. You got to have that, despite what you think of the movie. You know, there was nothing of that. There was nothing like that. There was no point in having them in the movie. Brackett too. He was useless. And I understand that Charles Cyphers is in his 80s. I'm not expecting him to hang from the chandelier and dropkick Michael in the face. I'm just saying that he was useless. He was completely useless. There was no point in having there was no reason to bring them back other than just to say, oh, hey, look, here they are. You know, and narrative, like, yeah, it's fine, but then make them go out in an epic way. Do you know what I mean? Make them go out in this epic, amazing way. And they didn't do that. So I agree. Guy Hopewell says, I think there will be a lot of narrating by Laurie and her granddaughter during the beginning of the movie. I don't think so. That, you know, I mean, maybe, but I don't think you need to do that with this. That would definitely change the style of the film. I mean, you might hear, I see what you're saying. Maybe. I don't think they're going to do that, but maybe. You never know. Daniel Wallatish? Am I saying that correctly, Daniel? If I'm not, my apologies. $2 says, hey, Dave, you missed my super chat from the beginning. Oh, from the beginning. I guess you guys were getting... Let me go back to the beginning then. Thank you, Daniel. And let me just see. I got to go into my studio here, go into here, go into there, go into here. And let me go back and... Oh, why are you not coming up here? Let's do this. Oh, for goodness sakes. YouTube Studios being a pain in the butt. Oh, come on. It's not showing up. The whole thing's not showing up for some reason. Why are you not showing up? Why would you be doing this right now? I can't seem to access the super chat area, and I'm refreshing the page. Let me try this again. I'll try this one more time, and we'll see. If not, just at me what you said, and I will answer it. Hang on a sec. Let me try this one more time. For some reason, the page is not loading when I go to the super chat page. It's being persnickety for some reason. Yeah, it's being persnickety. So just at me and let me know. And I'll do my best to answer it for you. Chris Parrish sends in $1.99, says, Tivoli should have been recast with Nick Castle. Tivoli? Not sure who you're talking about. Tivoli? Who's Tivoli? Unless I'm having a brain fart. And it is somebody I know, but I don't know. I don't know who that is. My apologies. Riker H sends in $5, says, what if Halloween Ends wants to do a cameo of a popular horror YouTuber getting taken out by Myers on live stream? Would you do it? Would I do it? Sure. Yeah, of course. Of course I would do it. 100%. Absolutely. I would definitely do it. Absolutely. It'd be awesome to get killed by Myers. Edward Nito sends in $10 and says, we're going to see a montage of Michael's daily routines as the dates on a calendar are crossed out in orange crayon by Michael himself until he gets to Halloween night. That'd be really funny. Can you imagine? Or it's like Castaway and he's in the cave and he's got the X's on the wall and things like that. And there's all there's 4 years worth of X's and things like that. And that'd be funny. That'd be really funny. Yeah. God, that cave would smell. How would he be eating? Does he walk into a Starbucks? Is that what he does? He just walks into a Starbucks and hangs out? I don't know. HTK Dominic St. Clair says, or HT, also known as Dominic St. Clair, excuse me, sends in a very generous super chat of $20. Thank you, buddy. Says, off topic, I'm doing Nightmare on Elm Street fan film named Prodigy. Son is about mother and her son Keith moving to Springwood from LA. Cool. Freddie comes back and tries to befriend Keith so he can help Freddie make his big return. Well, that's interesting. That sounds like an interesting premise for sure. Well, I wish you the best of luck with it, man. Good luck with it. And yeah, let us know when, it's all done and it's up online. And so everybody can go and check out your Elm Street fan film. That's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I like it. Sounds intriguing. Sounds different, right? Sounds different. I like it. All right. Did I get the... Daniel, have you added me yet, Daniel? I don't think Daniel has added me yet. Maybe he's not in the room anymore. That's always possible. Tivoli was the patient that mistook. Tivoli. Okay. I didn't know that. I didn't know he had a name. Okay. And then what was your question again? Let me go back. Your question was, Tivoli should have been recast with Nick Castle. Oh yeah. Yes. I've often said that. I think that would have been a cute cameo for Nick. That would have been fun. I don't know though, and this is no disrespect to Nick Castle, but Nick Castle is not an actor. Okay. I'm not saying he hasn't acted. He has. But Nick didn't get into the business to be an actor. He's not a trained actor, as far as I know. Yes, he can play Michael Myers walking around in a jumpsuit and a mask because John Carpenter just told him to walk around. And he has been in a few little other things, sure. But his career in the entertainment industry has been as a film director. He's been a director. The Last Starfighter and Dennis the Menace and Mr. Wrong with Ellen DeGeneres. And he's had a few, most of his films have not been commercial successes, but he's been a director. And so I don't know if Nick would have been able to go there. And what I mean by go there is really show that kind of panic and emotion, right? So although that would have been cool, the emotion that they needed from the actor, the panic they needed, I don't know if... Now, maybe Nick would have been able to go there. I have no idea. But Nick's not an actor. So the guy who played Tivoli, who sadly did actually pass away, was an actor. So it made sense why you were getting that performance out of him. So that's probably why. And to be honest with you, they probably didn't think of it. But even if they did, I bet you that was a big part of it. It's like Nick probably would have been like, "Oh, so I just have to run around and look scared. Well, I can do that. But if I got to go like there, I don't know if I could do that. You know what I mean?" So yeah. Got that. Oh, here's Daniel. Okay, cool. It says, "Hey, Dave, the other day at the Oscars, an interviewer asked Jamie Lee Curtis on the red carpet if Michael is going to die in Ends, and she said, what is dead in this franchise?" What is dead in this franchise? I have no idea what that means. Jamie Lee Curtis said, "What is dead?" No, what is dead in this franchise? Oh, I see what you said. What is dead in this franchise? I see what she's saying. Okay, I get it. Yeah, what is dead in this franchise? Like, what does that mean, right? What is dead in this franchise? Okay, here's the thing. Studio 101, right? Especially with a profitable horror franchise, obviously, from a fan perspective, I want Michael to die. I know that I am in the minority on that. I know that a lot of people watching me right now do not want that to happen. They can't bear the thought of that. I do. I'm okay with it for all the reasons that I've said. Not because I'm a disgruntled 42-year-old man. No, it's because I'm content. I'm okay. I think, because I think there's a way that you can do it, that you can still respect the legacy and still make people go, wow, what a great movie. Like what I did with my sequel Concept. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody agreed with my creative choices. That doesn't mean that everybody agreed with my ending. But I ended it on that, as I've said many times here, that philosophical sort of note, right? Michael does die in my sequel concept idea. It's on my channel. You can check it out. It's a sequel to the original film. It's not a sequel to Halloween Kills. A sequel to 18. It was, I did it before they even announced. Well, I recorded it before they even announced Halloween Kills and Ends. And then I uploaded it, I think like a week after or something. But anyway, in my sequel concept, Michael and Laurie die together in a huge inferno in Judith Meyer's bedroom in the Myers house. But the movie ends with Dr. Loomis's quote in Loomis's voice, the real line, "You think you fooled them, haven't you, Michael, but not me." And that line is actually not canon because it's from the TV version of the original film. But you could make it canon and bring it into this film. It's just a way to, if you leave the audience going, oh, interesting. What does that mean? You know, you leave them on a philosophical note. You leave them with questions. But rather than something literal, like Michael's eyes opening or him just walking off into the darkness. It's like, well, he's still out there. Yeah, but that's it. No, because now he can come. But then again, I know I'm in the minority, right? If it was me, I would literally kill him. Now, the studio would probably not let me do that. That's the difference, right? When you're working at the studio, hey, independent filmmaker, I'll kill him. You know, I may want to kill him, but Blumhouse and Universal and even Malek Akkad, because he's the real guy. He's the guy, he'd be like, no, you're not going to kill him. And then it becomes a question, okay, so we're not going to kill him. Like, kill him. Okay. Well, what are we going to do? What are we going to do that is satisfying? Because I don't know about you guys, but to me, now again, it's all in the execution. I could be completely blown away if they do any of the things we're about to talk about. 100%. I acknowledge that, okay? But at face value, when I think about it, I guess because it's been done so many times in so many movies, Halloween included, I don't want there to be a moment where, like I said, his eyes open, like at the end of Halloween Resurrection. It's like, wow, it's cheap. It's cheap. It's gimmicky. It's insulting. You know? Take the end of Friday the 13th, Part 4. Take the end of Friday the 13th, Part 4, the final chapter. Do you know what I love? Now, it wasn't the final chapter, but do you know what I love about that ending? It left the audience going, and it had nothing to do with Jason directly. It was indirectly. Do you guys remember the ending of Friday the 13th, Part 4? Do you remember what happened? There's Tommy, I was going to say Tommy Doyle. There's Tommy Jarvis, Corey Feldman, right? Walks into the hospital room, hugs his sister, and the camera just freeze frames on this eerie, uncomfortable look. Cut to black, roll credits. What was that? Is Tommy going to, oh shit. But what does it mean, right? The bigger picture, right? There's things to pontificate there. I like that because it's classy. It's classy. And nobody ever goes, end of Friday 13th Part 4 was shit. Nobody ever says that. Why? Because it's done really well. Nobody ever goes, no, they didn't show Jason at the end of Part 4. No, nobody complains about that. Nobody I know has ever been like, you know what? They should have had Jason at the end of Part 4, come out of the closet, attack. No, they don't say that because it's done really well. And it makes you go, ooh, what does that mean? Right? How does that? I like that kind of thing, especially when you're telling us this is the end. Yeah, you want to end it, but you want to end it with a question. You want to end it with a question, not a definitive answer. You want to end it with a question. And I think to me, Michael's eyes opening, even seeing Michael walk off into the darkness is too definitive to me. We know he's alive. We know he's alive. It's too definitive for me. I think you end with a question that makes everybody go, well, I guess that's, what, whoa, credits, what, no, but it was, how does that, oh, wow, well done. Oh, cool. Do you know what I mean? That's how I feel about it. And so, it's one of those things where, I just think that it when coming back to your question, what is dead? Well, that's what Laurie means. That's what Jamie Lee Curtis is implying, right? She's implying that, I hope she's implying that, well, because to me, an ending like, I'm not saying Friday, the ending of Friday the 13th Part 4 is this, this genius. Again, it's hopefully you know what I'm talking about. But the ending of Part 4 has that to me, right? That, well, what is dead? Do you know what I mean? When you look at Corey Feldman's fate, and I'm not saying that people are going to take over for Michael. It's the principle of what I'm talking about. What is dead in Halloween? Well, in Halloween, what is dead? So my fingers are crossed that there is a more mature, classy ending that, even though it's not definitive, and it's like, it still leaves even the hardcorest of Halloween fans going, okay, well played, Mr. David Gordon Green, well played. That was good. I enjoyed that. That was good. I like that, because you just don't do the gimmicky stuff, please. That's how I feel about it. All right. Did I get all the super chats? I think I've gotten all the super chats. I think I have anyway, although I'm not sure. Have I got all the super chats? I don't know if I have. Yes, I think I have. Oh, wait. Is that a new one that came in? No, that's still going by. Okay. I think I've got them. Let me go back to over here. Scroll down. What else we got going on? Okay. Scared Straight Production says, you think Hawkins will be used much? I think his death will be at the radio tower by being squished by falling debris, saving the day. Maybe. No, I actually think Hawkins is, I don't know. I don't know. Part of me thinks the family unit is going to survive till the end just because of the message that Jamie Lee Curtis has been very gung-ho about with these last two movies about generational trauma, although she did she didn't, but obviously the writers did kill off her daughter. I could see Hawkins die. I could see Laurie dying. I'd be okay with that. But I've always been of the mindset that if Laurie dies, Michael has to die. They have to die together. It began with them and ended with them. As a fan, and I only speak for myself, I understand that, I don't want to see the series continue. If this thing makes bank at the box office and gets rave reviews, they'll continue it. But I don't think it's necessary. I don't want to see Michael now go after Allison. I just don't think, it's all been done. It's just all been done, and what ends up happening, as I've said many times on this channel, is it's inevitable. It's inevitable. The more sequels you make, there will eventually be that one that you go, oh, well, there we go. You know what I'm saying? And for some Halloween fans, it just happened last year. Halloween Kills, whether you like it or not, is incredibly divisive. As I said, it's very divisive, like really divisive. It's the Last Jedi of Halloween films. It might be the most divisive Halloween film yet. It's crazy how divisive that film is, because we can all agree that Resurrection, Halloween 5, but Kills is, so yeah, I mean, it's, yeah. Anyway, it really depends on I just don't want to see, I just want it to end. You know, it's not that story's end, it's how they end. I do believe, and I don't know if they've done it. I don't know if this is the movie they've shot. I don't know how many endings they shot. I don't know which ending they're going to go with, if they shot multiple endings. I don't know. But I am okay with it ending because it's not that it. I truly believe that if you end this movie right, if you honor the 78 film, if you honor and respect the fans and respect the franchise and respect what Halloween means to so many people. And I'm not saying they haven't. I mean, there's a lot of Halloween fans working on that movie, right? There's a lot of Halloween fans, whether you're in the makeup department or the hairstyling, or, you know, whether you're grips or you know, you're the director himself. I mean, there's a lot of people working on that movie that are fans of the franchise. Now, obviously, most everybody, you know, doesn't get a creative say. Okay. You know, hair, makeup, grips, they don't get to tell you what to do. They don't get to tell you, you know, the direction they want to see. But there's a lot, I hope that this is something that we all, no matter what Halloween fan you are, you will be content with this ending. Content. Because whether they reboot it or not, let's say they do reboot it again, like 3 years from now. I do hope it's the end of this story. It's the end of the story connected to the 1978 original. 100% hands down. I've said that many times. It's time to put this baby to bed, you know, and stick the landing. That's what you got to do. Jerry Ramey sends in $10. Thank you, Jerry. Says, Dave McRae was talking to the Fandom Empire guys. Oh, you're at me. I was like, I was? You were talking to the Fandom Empire guys. I suggested the possibility of doing a Joker-esque character study within Andy Allison. Think Clarice in Silence of the Lambs. You mean like an actual movie? But I don't think that, I don't think there's an appeal for that. Maybe in the horror community, but not to the general movie-going audience. Joker is a far bigger brand than Michael Myers could ever dream of being to the general movie-going audience. An Allison character study ain't making $1 billion at the box office. Now, you never say never, but I think that it's a cool idea. You know, it's as an idea, it's interesting, but I think that would be a tough thing to get. That would be a very tough thing to get a studio to go ahead with, because I think they would say, why? This Allison character is not a beloved character. This Allison character is not iconic. This Allison character is not a household name. This Allison character was created 4 years ago. This Allison character does not have, you know, literally billions of dollars of marketing material in comics and games and movies and graphic novels and merchandise. But do you know what I mean? It's just not the same. It's just not the same. There isn't a studio that would be like, yeah, let's do that. You know, again, at face value, it's interesting. But it's interesting maybe within the Halloween bubble, but on the big scale, nah. Thank you for the question, though. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it very much. Appreciate it. Entertainment Wizard. Oh, he's talking to MAGA. Good. Like to see you guys there. Mike Johnson says, on a more serious note, I felt Halloween Resurrection was the one that really put Halloween back for a while. Although H2O isn't my favorite, it was a flawless ending and Resurrection ruined it. I see. Oh, put Halloween back for a while. No, I see what you're saying. Well, I don't know. You know, we have to remember that there was a 4-year gap between Halloween Resurrection and Halloween H2O. By the time Halloween, earlier in the show today, I was talking about trends and talking about it doesn't matter how popular you are. Look, I mean, there's some properties that are just so big that they'll always do well. Sure. Horror is not one of those things. And by the time Resurrection came out in 2002, the resurgence of the slasher subgenre that began with Scream in 96 was, well, I mean, dead, because it was only 2 years later that you entered the torture porn era of horror, when with films like Saw and Hostel and things like that. And that really took over. That really was horror for a better part of that decade. The slasher, and I know there was Rob Zombie's Halloween 1 and 2, but it's not that slashers didn't exist. I'm just talking about what was really sort of the talk on the block. And so, yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I think, although I'm not a fan of Halloween H2O, I think it's a terrible Halloween movie. I recognize why it was popular. I respect its love, that people love it, and people love it for a few reasons. It generally, what I've discovered over the years, because when Halloween H2O came out, I was already 19. I was already, almost 20. So it wasn't the first Halloween movie I saw. It wasn't the first Halloween movie I saw in the movie theater. But for a lot of people, it was. For a lot of people, it was their first Halloween movie they saw in the movie theater. It was their first Halloween movie they ever saw. It was the film that introduced them to Halloween, because the slasher subgenre was dead. It had been dead since the late 80s, really, or certainly the early 90s. So if you were born in like the late 80s, your introduction to Halloween was probably Halloween H2O. And it was definitely one of those horror light movies. Halloween H2O had that Scream, fluffy light. Yeah, there's some blood, sure, but it's not a scary movie. It's like a haunted house. Not a haunted house. It's like one of those, not like a scary haunted house, but it's like one of those carnival haunted house things where you sit in the little thing and you go around the corner and it lasts 30 seconds. It's fun. It's fine. It's light, So there's a lot of nostalgia for Halloween H2O. A lot of nostalgia. And there are people out there. Wolfman's Got Nards, shout out to Barry. He loves it. It's one of his favorites. He will die on an H2O hill. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think it's a very good movie. I think it's competently made, and it's a good movie for what it is trying to be. Yes. And there's a little bit of there's a few cool things in there. I think the character of Laurie is, cool, but Michael is terrible. And that's no disrespect to Chris Duran. Not at all. I just mean the way they presented Michael is terrible. He looks like a cosplayer. He looks like Michael, some dude dress up as Michael searching for the convention. That's what he looks like. When Laurie is on the street and she's looking at something in the store window and then Michael shows up behind her. Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. The way he looks, broad daylight out like that, it's terrible. I know it's not really him and she's just imagined it, but it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. He looks like somebody on his way to the convention and wanted to stop and peer into the same window. That's what it looks like. That's what a lot of Michaels look like in later films. They just look like somebody cosplaying as Michael. James Jude Courtney doesn't look like somebody cosplaying as Michael. He looks like Michael Myers. He acts like Michael Myers. He is Michael. He embodies Michael Myers. So shout out to James Jude Courtney. But Chris Durand, again, if they had lit him differently, if the execution was different, if they had the right mask, of course, right? Maybe a different ball game. It's not really his performance per se, although I wasn't crazy on it. It's just the way that he's lit up like a Christmas tree in every scene. Every scene, there's no, there's a few moments where you're like, but not a big fan. Anyway, going off on a tangent here. So yes, I think you are correct. What Halloween H2O did for Halloween, Resurrection reversed it. Yes, I think that is a fair statement to make at that time in that era. Yes. All right. Let me see. Super chat comes in from Emadusius. Emadusius, is that how you say that? I don't have my glasses on, so maybe I'm not seeing it right. $5, thank you, says the only way to honor this story of Halloween is to have Michael die. Love your show, Dave. Well, it is how you have him die, right? In my sequel concept, again, that doesn't mean you have to agree with everything I did, but what I did was I had, Michael and Laurie die. Laurie is saving her. Michael and Laurie die Michael attacks Laurie like they're burning. They're on fire. And they die together in Judith Meyer's bedroom. And the whole Myers house goes up in flames and everything. And people from the streets come out to watch and shit. And they're trying to get Laurie out. And it's this big thing. Now, saying that at face value, some of you in the chat might be like, oh, that's dumb. Like, all right, let's just cut off his head again then. Let's just have him open his eyes again then, you know. The point that I was trying to do, oh, and also an important part too, is that because my sequel concept was really about, it was Brackett, Laurie, and Tommy who are, and there's a thunderstorm and there's rain and they're going from house to house. It is the mayhem that Brackett talked about in the original film. They can't find him. Michael is in the shadows a lot, thunder, lightning. I mean, imagine all that, right? And they end up finding this girl hidden in a closet. And her whole family has just been decimated. There's this girl who's in a closet and she just so happens to look a lot like Sandy Johnson, I think. Not Johnston. But anyway, at that age. And Laurie recognizes her. Now, you might be thinking, well, how would Laurie recognize that? Well, Laurie has seen the photos. Laurie's been obsessed with Michael Myers. She knows everything there is to know about what happened in 1963, right? It's totally believable that she would have photos of Judith, that she would know the story, that she wanted to know why, all that kind of stuff, right? And she just has a resemblance to her. And so what they do is... it's actually a terrible thing to do, but they use this girl who looks so much like her to bait Michael. And again, there's a lot of nuance, a lot of details I'm leaving out here. There's a lot of more meat on the bone than that. But the thought process behind this is that I'm thinking symbolically. I'm thinking philosophically. That doesn't mean you have to do exactly what I've done. But I'm trying to make it mean more. You know what I mean? I'm trying to use cinematic language and symbolism within the confines of a slasher movie. It is a slasher movie. This isn't, like I said, The Green Mile or something, to make it have more weight, to have more meat on the bone. And so what ends up happening is, for those of you that haven't listened to it, I think what ends up happening is that they eventually lure Michael to the Myers house because they want to get him up to Judah, and whatever. And I think there's a police car that spins out of control and like drives right up into the Myers house and is leaking gas and catches fire and shit. And the house is beginning to go up in flames and Michael's on fire and he's walking up the stairs on fire and shit. I think that's what's happening. And he goes into Judith Meyer's bedroom where there's this decoy kind of thing, right? And then Laurie just sacrifices herself She sacrifices herself, leaps onto Michael. She knows she's going to die. Think about that. Think about the weight of that decision. She knows she's going to die. And not just die, burn. She's going to burn. And she leaps onto him, grabs him, stabs him, and is like screaming to the decoy, the Judith character, to get out of the fucking room, whatever, right? And the decoy, the house is beginning to along the hallway and the railing and shit, and there they are fighting to the death in Judith Meyer's bedroom. The symbolism of that, it's pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool. Now, again, that doesn't mean it's got to be executed exactly like that. Maybe in a writer's room, somebody else would be like, oh, cool. That's cool. Okay. But instead of this, how about we do this and that, and then that, right? And then I might be like, oh, yes. Okay. Scrap that part, put that there, then have that. And that. Totally. There's always room for development, right? But the point of what I was trying to get across was giving it more meaning. It's not just, oh, he falls off the radio tower and impales himself on a sharp object. Oh, it's not just that, right? There's more weight to it. It means more. The house, the bedroom where he did his first kill. Do you know what I mean? Laurie sacrificing herself, not just to save that Deke, but to save everybody. The flames, the fire. I mean, and remember, I know people are like, oh, well, we've already done, No, but Halloween 2 doesn't exist. Halloween 2 doesn't exist, right? Only Halloween 18 does. And it's almost like Lori this time is it's almost like she knew that he escaped from that fire because she wasn't there, right? He escaped from that fire because she wasn't there. You know, the fire in 18, right? And it's almost like she's sacrificing herself to make it right. And that fire wasn't intentionally lit, by the way, right? See, the fire in Halloween 2 was intentional. It's time, Michael, right? The fire in 18 was intentional. The fire at the end of my sequel is not intentional. It's a byproduct of the circumstances. The police car, which crashes into the house, is leaking gas, and then shit just goes down, right? Shit goes down. So, you know, that's another thing too to think about, to get into the mind of Lori, that she wasn't thinking that she was gonna, she didn't go into that house thinking she was gonna have to burn to death. It's so bad. She doesn't want this to go on. Think about that. Like, holy fuck. Well, gotta roll with it. I mean, it's like, fuck. It's intense. That's the kind of shit I want to see. Again, not necessarily exactly that verbatim, but that kind of thing. Make it count. Make me as a fan go, you know what I'm saying? Ooh, really smart. It's smart. It's classy. You know, make it count. Make it mean something. Make the symbolism drip, baby. And where you go, bring it home. Bring it full circle. You know, that's what I want to see. And then, of course, my sequel idea ended with, I think it was Tommy and Lindsay and Allison. I think they'd all survived. Brackett died in my sequel concept. Lori died. Michael died. Or did he? Because what ended up happening is that at the end, they're standing there. It's like a couple weeks later or something. And there's all these homes, but the Myers house burned to the ground. It's just this foundation. It's rubble. It's nothing. You know, and they're standing there on like a cool autumn day, the hair, you know, in the breeze and stuff. And then, actually, I think it's just Tommy and Lindsay are there, I think. I forget now. And I think Allison and Karen pull up maybe. I think Karen might survive. I can't remember. But anyway, they pull up in a car and they drive off, and it's a crane shot or a drone, and we pull back and we see the foundation and the neighborhood. And then there's that Dr. Loomis line, "You think you fooled them, haven't you, Michael?" Dramatic pause. But not me, you know? And that cuts to black roll credits. What does that mean? What the fuck? Why did they put that there? What does that mean? He's dead. He burned. What the fuck are they talking? What does it mean? What does it mean? Right? Friday 13th part 4. What is that? He's hugging his sister, and then he's like, why does he look like that? Why'd you stop there? What's going on? You know, that's how you do it. That's how you do it. That's how I think something like that. Something like that. Make it count. Just fucking treat the fans with respect, baby. Don't end it on some dog shit cliffhanger that is so 80s cheese. Don't do it. Please don't do it. Please. Anyway. For those of you, now you don't need to go watch my sequel concept idea. All right, got that one. Super chat comes in from Zach Talk, I think Talk. Zach Talk sends in $4.99. Thanks, buddy. Says, "Hey, Dave, I just got a raise on my job for $20 an hour. Awesome, dude. Congratulations. Do you believe I can get my own place and still make my car payment with $20 an hour? Thanks." Well, I don't know, dude. I have no idea. I don't know what your financial circumstance is. I don't know what kind of car you have. I don't know how many hours you're working. I don't know, man. You would know better than me. I have no idea, but congratulations on the raise, and thank you for the super chat, Zach. Bloodshot 1990 sends in $5. Thank you, and says, "Thank you, and Tony, I'm assuming you mean, for the hours of entertainment." No problem, my man. Thank you for saying that. Feel like the story will end with Michael finding his humanity in some way. Only interesting ending, in my opinion. See, that's another thing too, right? That's something I don't want. Michael needs to remain an enigma. We must never know. We must never know what makes Michael Myers tick. We must never, ever know. We can think we're on the cusp of knowing it. We can see the characters believe that they're on the cusp of knowing it. Maybe there's little things that are planted in there where it's like, you know what I'm saying? But we must never know. The mystery of why Michael is the way he is, why he's doing what he's doing, should never be known ever. It must die with him. 100%. 100%. 100%. All right, did I get them? I think I got them. It's not Aiden says, what if Lori goes to visit her friends' graves in ends, but their gravestones are missing? Ooh, we were just talking about that earlier. I mean, in terms of, I would have loved to have seen, I still would like to see Lori visiting the graves of her friends, but that's an interesting add-on. I like that. That's interesting. That's fascinating. All three? Wow, that'd be a lot. Unless Bob and Linda are buried together. It's interesting, though. I don't mind that. It's fascinating. Robert Thidoff says, Dave, I saw that the Elvis movie, various Netflix miniseries, and other productions were filmed in New Zealand. Do you know why New Zealand is getting so many productions? I don't off the top of my head, but it's probably because of the tax credits, I would imagine. It probably is. I mean, why did they shoot up here? Why are so many productions shot in Toronto and Vancouver, but they say they're New York or Chicago? Why don't you just shoot in New York or Chicago? Well, it's because it's a lot cheaper to shoot in Canada, and especially in Toronto, where we have the gigantic skyscrapers and the hustle and the bustle. Vancouver, you have them, you have buildings too, but you could never shoot in Vancouver and say it was New York, depending on where you were. Toronto, is easier to do that. It's because it's a bigger, it's the most American city in Canada. But that's why. I mean, and we have all the facilities up here. I mean, we have state-of-the-art production facilities, studios, some of the best in North America. So that's why they do shoot a lot of shit up here. But I would say that the same probably is for New Zealand. This may not be the only reason, but one of the big reasons is probably just the tax credits. That's why they shoot a lot in Georgia. They shoot a lot in Georgia because of the tax, right? Because it's cheaper to shoot there. They get incentives for it too. So that would be my guess. Chester Franklin Jr. says, Dave, congratulations on the nominee. And which actor do you think had the best kills in the Halloween movie? Congratulations on the nominee. Oh, you mean Greg? Yes. Yes, thank you very much for saying that. Yeah, our DP for It's Me, Billy, Gregory Bennett, as he's known professionally, we of course refer to him as Greg, was just nominated, and It's Me, Billy was just nominated for a CSC award. That's the Canadian Society of Cinematographers. That's a big deal. And he was nominated in the category of Best Cinematography Dramatic Short. It's Me, Billy has been nominated for a CSC award, Best Cinematography in the category of dramatic short, which is really friggin' cool. Greg has been nominated twice before. So this is his third nomination. So that's, I'm like, wow, I have a film that was nominated for a CSC award. So when you watch movies, not all the time, because it depends on which, what membership you have in a lot of these organizations. But when you watch a movie, you'll often see when it mentions in the credits the director of photography, it'll say beside their name, it'll say the acronym ASC or CSC or BSC. Well, that stands for the American Society of Cinematographers, or the Canadian Society of Cinematographers, or the British Society of Cinematographers. And so yeah, it's a very it's a very prestigious thing to be part of that group, and obviously they are holding the Canadian Society of Cinematographers, so the CSC is holding their 65th annual award show this year in Toronto on May 7th, and it honors the best of the best of that year in cinematography for people part of the CSC. And just because you're part of the CSC doesn't mean you can't shoot American films. And just because you're part of the ASC doesn't mean you can't shoot Canadian films. No, it doesn't mean that at all. But anyways, I digress. How fucking cool is that? He texted me on Tuesday and was like, well, actually, he just texted me the image of the announcement. I was like, no. I was like, are you kidding me? Because we kind of joked about it, because we know that he's been nominated twice before. And we often said, hey, can you imagine if you got nominated again for this? And he did. Like, that's really cool. Now, there's no guarantees that he'll win. The award show is May 7th, but fingers are crossed, man. Again, congratulations to Greg Bennett on his nomination for Best Cinematography for It's Me, Billy, his third CSE nomination. That's fucking cool. I said to Bruce, it's kind of cool to think that we co-wrote, co-directed, and co-produced a movie that's been nominated for a CSE. That's wild, Pretty cool stuff. So thank you, Chester, for saying that. And congratulations to Greg, and congratulations to the whole team of It's Me, Billy. That's really fucking cool. I'm pulling for you, Greg. My fingers are crossed. And hopefully, maybe we'll even be able to go to the show. I've talked to Bruce about that because that'd be cool too, to be able to attend and support Greg and support our film. Let's see. All right. Did I see a super chat come in? No, I don't think I did. I just want to make sure I'm not missing any. Let me see. I don't think so. I'm not seeing any more. Yeah, I wonder why that's not working. Okay. I don't think so. So thank you, Chester. Now, the other thing you said, Chester, was which actor think you had the best kills in the Halloween movies? Which actor do I think had the best? Oh, I don't know, man. That's tough to say. I would say that I got to go classic, it's almost like there's Halloween 78 and then there's everything else, because Halloween 78 was so classy and Hitchcockian and theater of the mind. But by the time you get to Halloween Kills, it's like, it's like your typical slasher. So it's difficult to compare. The firefighter scene definitely in Kills was a lot of fun to watch. I really like actually the death of the interracial couple there that had the drone. That was probably more, that was disturbing because we were watching him just like use her husband as a pincushion and things like that. Like, that's really cool. But when I think about classic stuff, I think about The Needle in the Eye and Halloween 2, which is fucking great. The way Dean Cundy shot that. But I've often said it's the most Halloween 1 thing in Halloween 2. So that's probably why I like it, because the way they shot it and he emerges from the darkness and shit, it's just so awesome. I like the Bob kill. I like the Linda, sure. Yes, of course I like the Linda kill. But I like the Annie kill as well. I know Annie's kind of overselling it with her, whatever. But it's cool because they use the fact that he's fogged up the windows, being in the car without the engine on in a mask, as the justification of why we don't see him that well. There's that shot where we see Annie and we see Michael, but he's blurry because the window's fogged out. Now, from a creative standpoint, that's ingenious. We don't want to show him. Let's have him the fog and all that kind of shit. Because the first time we see his mask in any close proximity is when he lifts his head up into frame, and I mean close proximity, like a clear view of it is when he lifts his head up into frame and whatnot. So yeah, it's definitely fun. All right, we'll go another 10 minutes, another 10 more minutes here. We shall go. That'll be 2 hours. I think that's a good spot to leave it at. Riker H sends in $2, says, who wins, Will Smith versus Michael Myers? I think Will Smith would have slapped him, and Michael Myers, well, I don't know. It depends on what Michael Myers we're getting. Because if it's the Michael Myers from Halloween Resurrection, Busta Rhymes was, like talking to him and yelling at him, and Michael just turned around and walked the other way. Talk about being emasculated and oh God, it's terrible. It's terrible. So if it's that Michael Myers, he might just take it and walk the other way. But if it's James Jude Courtney, nah. Will Smith is dead. He's gone. He's gone. It's over. It's over. It's over. Adam Miles says, hey, Dave, what if they reboot with prequel focusing on Judith with a young Michael lurking or stalking in the background, slowly building up to a boy's strength of man and man and the mind of an animal? Again, I think it's limited. That sounds like a mini series. I don't want to see that. Now, again, this is me. if people like you or get excited about all the ideas of a Loomis backstory and a Loomis series, or a Loomis series before Michael, or a Loomis series, the Michael years between 1963 and 1978, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that's cool. But for me, I think anything you do to go back and show more takes away from the mystique of Michael Myers. It's just not something that I would do. I don't need to see it. Everything I need to know, and I've often said this, but it's true, everything I need to know about Michael Myers was said in that, 30-second speech from Dr. Loomis in the Myers house in 1978. I know what some of you might be thinking, oh yeah, because you're a purist, you're just going back. No, but if you really think about it, I've said this before, but if you really listen to that speech, because now we don't really pay attention to it. We're so familiar with it. We can recite it off by heart. But if you really break it down of what Dr. Loomis is actually saying, it's everything you need to know. It's literally everything you need to know. He says, I met this 6-year-old child with this blank, pale, emotionless face and the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes. I spent 8 years trying to reach him, and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up, because I realized what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil. Well, here's a man of science, a psychiatrist, coming to terms with the fact that, wow, there's something supernatural here. There's an element there. He spent 8 years trying to reach him. Okay, I can imagine what that would be like. And he spent 8 years trying to reach him. I can imagine that. And another 7 trying to keep him locked up. I can imagine that. I don't need to see that. I don't need to have those years told to me. I don't need to see it. Now, a lot of fans out there would disagree with me, and they would say, no, I want to see that. I want to see all those years. And then they say, okay, fuck those years. Let's go back and see Loomis in the 50s when he was a young, or in the 40s when he was coming up. I don't need to see that either, because I've been always under the impression that by the time Loomis got to Michael Myers, his life was pretty ordinary. He didn't deal with the bizarre or weird or strange. It wasn't until Michael that made him change his mind about the supernatural. I've always got the impression that he was largely a man of science, and yeah, that doesn't mean he didn't have some tough cookies or some problematic children. Sure. Okay. Yeah, fine. But nothing compared to this. And to make that story of Loomis interesting, you're going to be tempted to write really interesting and crazy patients for him to be, the doctor of. And I just don't, I think you run the risk of making more interesting, crazier patients than Michael. And I don't think it's necessary. I don't think you need to do it. I have always believed that Dr. Loomis is just a fish out of water. He was a good psychiatrist, well respected for sure, which is why he was, assigned to this kid. But he was normal. He wasn't. Now I get that Smith's Grove is for the mentally insane. Sure. I get all that. But I never got the impression that anybody was like Michael. There was something about Michael that Loomis was like, this is different. There's something different here. And I don't need to see that. I can imagine it. It's theater of the mind. It's cooler with me just imagining that. So everything he says, and there's a bit more that he says too there in the house as well about that. But everything he says about Michael and his relationship with him is right there. I don't need to see it. It's the I watched him for 16 years. No. That's by the house. It's where he says he says the other thing he says is what does he say? He says too about I met this. No, not that one. He says, why am I drawing a blank on it? Hang on a sec here. It's quote. I'm drawing a blank on it. I met him 15 years ago. I was told there was nothing left. No reason, no conscience, no understanding, and even the most rudimentary sense of life or death, good or evil, right or wrong. Again, that is part of the whole monologue that he has there with Brackett. So this part and the other part that I talked about. I met the 6-year-old child that's blank pale. So you add this and that part, that's everything you need to know. Even about Michael, right? I was told there was nothing left. No reason, no conscience, and no understanding in even the most rudimentary sense. So rudimentary means basic, simplest. In even the most rudimentary sense of life or death, good or evil, right or wrong. He doesn't appear to understand even the most rudimentary things. You know, he doesn't, his sense of right or wrong, good or evil, it doesn't apply here. It's strange. There's something else going on. He's purely and simply, you know, so everything is there. I know it's not enough for maybe the younger audience today because everything is spelled out to you and everything is connected and, you know, I get it. But for me, when you really break it down, there it is. There it is. That's all we need to know, you know? And that basically is Loomis saying there is no rhyme or reason for doing what he's doing. That is what that says. I don't know. I don't know what this is. What's the motive? There is no motive. You know, it just is. It's instinctual. It's like a cat. You know, he's a predator. You know, he's not consciously making complex decisions. That's what that means. It doesn't mean that he doesn't know what a glass of juice is or he doesn't know when he's got to pee. I don't mean those things. I mean making complex decisions, you know, and compartmentalizing that. It's, you know, yes, maybe he went after Lori because it reminded him of Judith, but he might not be able to intellectualize that and compartmentalize that. It might just be instinctual, you know, like a predator. You know, he's not making those decisions. At least this was the design of Michael in the first movie. You get to the later sequels, that's different. When you get to Halloween 2, that's different because they introduce the sister, right? So even when you get to Halloween 2, they introduce the sister, it's different. You know what I mean? But in that first movie, which these movies are a sequel to, because remember, 2 and 4 and 5 and 6 and H2O, Resurrection, they don't exist. So any lore and anything that it does not exist, it ceases to exist. So that's why those words from the original Halloween are more important to this timeline than they've ever been to anything else. So that's why, you know, I sit back and I think that we don't know. And it's also why I'm hoping they don't, it's not that they can't drop clues, but I hope they don't over-explain anything. Do not demystify Michael, because you don't need to. You don't need to demystify him in order for the ending to feel complete and have the ending feel satisfactory, like it's a satisfactory conclusion. You don't need to do that. So I'm hoping they don't. But we shall see. Okay, this will be the last one here. Riker H says, oh no, I already got that. I thought there was another one that came in. Did I get them all? Maybe I got them all. That's a good thing. That's a good thing if I got them all. I believe I did get them all. Cool. All right, well, listen, that's going to do it for me here on this this impromptu Halloween Ends and Halloween Talk Q&A. Really cool stuff. I really appreciate all the super chat questions that came in. Thank you, of course, to my great moderators, Frank Riker, Tabitha Short, Darren Sands, and Chris Baber for doing what you guys do. Really appreciate it. And the non-super chat questions that came in as well. Some really interesting ideas there that you guys had. Some interesting theories, some interesting ideas. Pretty cool stuff. I like the way some of you guys are thinking. Really cool. I like doing this kind of thing and hearing what you guys sort of what your ideas are and all that kind of stuff. And hey, if you've made it to this far in the show, comment below and let me know your thoughts. What are some of your theories on where Halloween Ends is going to go? News is very far and few between at the moment. CinemaCon is next month in Vegas. It's entirely possible that Universal might have something for Halloween Ends at CinemaCon, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be released to the general public. A lot of what is shown at CinemaCon stays at CinemaCon. Maybe that's why they hold it in Vegas. Anyway, but yes, so, maybe, will it be a clip? Will it be a featurette? I don't know. I have no idea, but they might have a little something there, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we'll see it. But as the case is with a lot of CinemaCons in Vegas, there might be a transcript that is released about what somebody saw while there. So that's possible next month. April 1st is tomorrow. But yeah, comment below, folks, and let me know your thoughts. How do you think the movie's going to open? How do you think the movie's going to end? What do you want from the ending and all that kind of stuff? I would love to know. It would be fascinating. If you want to follow me on Facebook, you can at facebook.com/manythingsdave McRae. That's where I tend to post in the meantime and in between time, and I'm not posting here. All my links are in the description, as well as right there. There's Twitter, there's Instagram, there's my Facebook page. Follow me there, folks. Follow me there. That's where I'm posting when I'm not on here. Have a great rest of your Thursday, and yeah, I'll talk to you guys soon. Alrighty. Cheers.